Let's face it, you were lied to, you were used, you were abused, you were misled by some other Dragon Ball scalers and power scalers in this community who got caught using this scan of Goku explaining how the laws of time and energy allow him more freedom to express himself physically in the afterlife than it does in the mortal realm. But like most Dragon Ball scalers' logic, they don't really read anything in a critical manner to begin with. So Goku does get tired in the afterlife and does require food and even sleep. By our Lord Zeno, please stop subscribing to these bad content creators. They're lying to you. So sound is required to speak, air to breathe. This isn't an actual void. There are no parameters for a mortal existence to continue to exist as it normally does if this were a real void. No laws of gravity for his atoms to stay together, no time to allow conversations or any linear action to occur. Nothing can occur because there are no laws that govern anything linear. There are also no laws to allow a soul to exist, or Goku's hair to stay the same, or for any colors to exist, or anything at all. The motion of digesting food in Goku's body won't occur since there are no laws to govern that. This is not a void. This is just an empty space with plentiful rules and regulations within it that allow mortals to exist as they normally do. You can use your eyes. It's not hard. Use your eyes instead of listening to a cult leader who plays on your worries and preferences and who coddles you and feeds you what you want to hear to try to earn your trust. It's just an immensely sad reality that anyone has to manipulate younger viewers by revising the word dimension when talking about the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional aspects of Goku. It's just a blatant lie to say that Goku, a 3rd dimensional physical entity, is no longer physical but has 2 or 3 extra dimensional spatial values that compose his body. This is actually insane. It's actually insane that even one person would ever listen to such a scaler say something like that. The 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension in geometry can't exist in the 3rd dimension because the 3rd dimension only has left, right, up, down, forward, and backward. But these scalers will tell you that Goku has even more than that, which is nothing more than a lie to get others to think you are intelligent, when you're not. Misleading others and revising definitions to suit your agenda makes you a low tier, and yet you see that in the majority of content creators online who have massive subscriber scaling communities. The reason for that is that most of their time during the day is invested into this, whereas normal and good scalers don't invest their entire lives and their soul into this. They make a few dozen videos, maybe 100, maybe 200 over here and over there over the course of many years. They're not spamming their own advertisements in other places, whereas the low tiers who just lie and manipulate for fun spam their communities and videos and post everywhere on dozens of Discords, on dozens of apps all over people's communities. You can't listen to these people because they are here to mislead you and lie to you. They consider you too naive to even realize that they're doing this to you. So in the same way that this person insists that the orb of creation isn't the same or a reference to the Presence's orb in the Lucifer series, let me just explain this. Here's the event. The Presence holds this orb up in the series Lucifer 2000, written by Michael Carey, and he says this is the whole of creation. And then in Superman Beyond 2008, Roxo Gamma holds up this orb and says nearly the exact same line. And the context of Roxo Gamma is that he's the one who murdered the Presence, the same guy in the Lucifer 2000 series who hold up that orb. So it's clear that he took this orb as a trophy for readers to understand that he's responsible for the death of this character that originally held it. But, you know, this other guy is telling you, don't listen to that. That's kind of stupid. I can't believe you would ever say something that dumb. So, God ME5, just an example, and I'm not using this to, like, flame him or anything. It's just, like, this is a clear person who is an alt of somebody else who is trying to discredit other useful information online. So he says, the yellow orb is literally just his power, Cryface. Read the comics, bro. The uncropped panel is him reviving Ultraman, which he wasn't reviving him at all. He was killing him. And with this established yellow energy, The book holding all creation is the Book of Limbo, which holds all the stories in DC's universe. As seen in Chapter 1 of Final Crisis Superman Beyond, your laziness shows no bounds. So this person decided to come online and actually tell people that this orb over here, held by the Presence, saying this almost exactly the same line, is not a reference to what Roxogama was talking about in a later issue, when that character, Roxogama, is the guy who killed the other guy holding up this orb. This is misinformation, okay? This is an attempt to discredit any type of information that warps their preference. So please, don't listen to that. Don't listen to anybody who makes these wild claims like that. You can use your eyes and see that this orb is the same orb. You can use your eyes and read the statement. It's a reference to that other orb because they wrote the sentence nearly exactly the same way. And then we can go even further. This is the same way that many scalers didn't even bother to read or use their eyes when looking at the Chronicler in Death Metal, Rise of the New God. So this character has a vampiric body with chest orbs and was sent from the source in the Overvoid and enjoys talking about and clinging to this book with all the data in it from past creations that died. Mandrak has a vampiric body, chest orbs, was sent from the source, which in that series was the Overvoid, enjoys talking about and clinging to a book that contains all the data from past retcons and creations. So this is homage. This is homage. That's what it is. It's a funny potential Easter egg that the Chronicler might be a reference to Dax Novu during his time investigating the Flaw during the events of Final Crisis 2008. His head's on fire, though, so to those bad scalers, that means throw everything else out. The body shape, the chest orb, the job function, where he came from, and also the purple cape that's exactly the same between both characters. Scalers don't care about your feelings. They only care that you regard them as correct and that they're willing to break your critical thinking skills in order to make money online. So don't give it to them. Another great example of breaking your logic processing abilities would be this post on Reddit, where a user posted a snapshot of a newer guidebook that told us the Presence, the father of Lucifer Morningstar, might not actually be the true god of DC, but that plenty of people believe him to be so, and he wields the power as if he were the true god. The response to this thread was nearly no upvotes on the original post for sharing this information to the community, virtually no support for posting it. Instead, 26 people upvoted a comment from a person who said that he prefers the lies and headcanon over this information. The subjective fan fictions of believing whatever they want to believe about instead of the facts is what was supported. This is the best possible example of what the power scaling community has done to art and mythology. And this type of thing has gone on for so long that younger people from years ago who were into scaling and debating, who are now adults, firmly attest to the notion that lies and fabrication of data is a better way to run through educating others on mythology. It's fine to believe whatever you want, but it's not fine to go try to educate others with that intentional bias and then claiming you're right about whatever the facts are of the stories that we read, but you didn't tell anybody that you revised everything your own way. Interpreting some things in your own way in the story is how things are supposed to go, very often. But there are some elements of the story where you're not supposed to revise it, and that will break the lore completely. And those are the elements that power scalers often dismantle because they enjoy misleading you. When you see other YouTubers with thousands of subscribers and they make claims that they don't even read the comics, instead they have editors who research for them, and then that content creator says whatever their research tells them, that's what they're going to post on their channel. You're not supposed to subscribe to people who do that. You should unsubscribe to them. So in terms of Goku scalers, I rank them among the worst because they very often have no study in basic science to understand the most low-tier middle school level of understanding of how dimensions operate. Take this person, for example, who came from one of the worst Discords imaginable, who didn't know much about my Discord after joining. This person was shocked to see actual experts in my community and well-educated people on the science and the comics, and to his dismay, when we cracked his worldview on what Marvel is quite easily, this person demanded that we join voice chat and we add bots to the server and demanded that we discuss this right now and drop our lives and just go do whatever he wants because he's an immensely infinite narcissist who's used to getting his way, and when he came to my Discord, he didn't get his way and he didn't know how to handle it. So one of my community members actually eventually did join that discussion, and it turned out to be a 45-minute long denial process of some of the worst arguments I've ever heard. And afterwards, this person returned the following day after leaving my server and rejoining it 3 or 4 times in a row. So he came back, repeating the same arguments and having no respect for being the loser of that original voice chat debate that he had with somebody else the prior night. All the same lies were spread again the later day in text form. So I eventually replied to this person and submitted an armbar to him so powerful that he claimed I was horrifically insulting him by telling him that we don't like liars and people who can't admit that they lost arguments yesterday. And his response to this was to get really, really gross with me and start talking about how he wants me to do sex things with him. So this is a typical psychological response for a scaler who realizes that the community he originally came from is immensely low tier and just spreads bias and misinformation all day. And every now and then, one of them gets really, really bold and thinks these arguments will work against normal people and well-educated people in the science and the comics or the fictional ongoing topics. So they crack under the pressure, being backed into a corner so vividly on the facts that they eventually just melt into the wall and fuse with it, losing their minds and de-evolving into a cave person. This is what power scalers do for attention. They have no ethics and morals way too often and are just here to get attention from you. They do these debates because of a poor home life or something similar to that, where they don't get the attention that they really crave and they need. And it's way easier for them to stir up nonsense online to get the food that they require. It's way harder to actually read the content and get educated on it. So they're just not going to do that. It's too difficult and too time consuming to do that. So they linger around the worst cesspit discords on YouTube and TikTok and other places that they could ever actually find, because that's the easy way to do things. It's easy to go into a terrible place and get the attention and support by spreading terrible things in a terrible community. If they aren't spamming racist comments, they're misleading thousands of their subscribers on the content. And the moment that they shut off the camera and microphone, they laugh at you. That's what these personalities like and want. They're here to cultivize you and make you theirs. They want to own you. And when someone well-versed enough in these topics fights back and laughs at them for trying it, they can't handle it. So just don't let them do this. It's not hard to click subscribe or the like button on a good video that spreads truth and tries to be unbiased. So don't subscribe to those people on TikTok and YouTube and Discord who do the opposite. You get scalers like this who dedicate legitimate time to typing out complete lies, not just their opinion, but totally revising the comics of DC and other fictions like When They Cry to make it seem like they're knowledgeable on this subject and they need to be listened to. And you know what? I mean, geez, just listen to what this guy said. Featherin has ontology plus metafiction transcending inaccessible narratives that for her as smaller than books. In Umineko, a single fragment contains countless narratives where one transcends the other infinitely. Not only that, but there's also the library, where it contains every single story and narrative possibly stacked inside books, where she transcends as well. The Overvoid owns the same idea, being the thing that contains every single narrative of DC Comics, which Mandrak is a part of. He does not transcend that. Besides, Mandrak has not any relevant feat to get him above the narratives of the Overvoid. He still is an story within it, while Featherin is an ultimate author plus cosmology. So this person blatantly lies because DC Limbo contains the author avatars and Mandrak is above that. So this guy typed out this massive thing and it was complete misinformation. And that's just what people do. They're hoping that this giant wall of text will somehow trick you into believing whatever they said, all the nonsense that they said was actually factual in some way, but like every single line of that was a complete fabrication, a literal fib made up just to try to swindle others. So this is some wild stuff. And, you know, it's not just his opinion or interpretation here. It's just a legitimate attempt to dissuade others from what the comics and the When They Cry or Umineko game experience actually said about the parameters of Mandrake and Featherin. So this wannabe cult leader who dedicates legitimate amounts of time just wants to create his own cult. And there are so many better content creators all over. So many better Discords, so many TikTokers, so many YouTube scalers that are so much better than this person. Go pick one. Go pick another Discord to go hang around with that's way better than these. Like mine, for example, that has rules against not safe for work content and overly hostile or overly personal comments. No racism. And we have a lacking empathy for anyone who intentionally tries to lie to others for social status online. So, thanks for watching.